What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Markets in panic as there's blood in the streets. Ethereum down 8%, Bitcoin down 4.5%. Some of these altcoins seeing double-digit drawdowns. And I'm not really that worried, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you why in a minute, guys. But look, if we have a look at what's going on with Bitcoin right now, there are a few different factors that are sort of happening right now. If you were following the news, you know, we did have CPI and inflation data. Now, some of the markets are getting a little bit worried about the fact that the Fed is not going to cut rates, or some people are even saying they're going to hike it. Again, guys, we've heard this story time and time again. Bitcoin actually performed amazingly during a hike cycle. So I'm not really sure where all of this fear is coming from, but as you guys can see right here, we did have a little bit of a fake out of this pennant right here. We are currently still inside of it. And the reason for that is because if you go back even farther, we had this massive parallel channel, right? So, you know, maybe if you think it's a fake out, you could say maybe we had a bearish sort of fake out down here, and maybe this is a bullish type of a fake out. Maybe we do come back inside of this, you know, and bounce around the 58K area up to there. It's possible. But at the end of the day, guys, we're still putting in constructive price action. We're still continuing to put in, even on these ones that have been bought up, you know, this wick is lower, this wick is higher, and this one is technically still a little bit higher. So you're still seeing those buyers step in. Obviously, if we have a look at what the S&P is doing, well, it is kind of breaking into its parallel channel, right? So is Bitcoin going to end up following that? If we also look at the DXY was being held down, right? And generally speaking, we have inverse correlation between the DXY and Bitcoin. It was being held down right here. And then we did have it break out, right? So it actually, this is not really like a textbook bump and run, so I'm not going to call it that. But you can see, though, that it was being held down, being held down, being held down. And then once it came up, it actually used that as support and sprang through it, right? Oh, and by the way, for all the gold bugs out there, I know what you're going to say. Well, gold was not even able to save itself from this move. So just overall, basically, it's a red day around the table for really all assets, okay? But really, if you just zoom out, I don't want to do a lot of TA today because I want to talk about one of the biggest, most insane things that's happening in crypto. I think this is going to be a massive narrative, and there are going to be a lot of people making a lot of money in this narrative. I'll get to it in just a minute. But as you guys can see, constructive, right? Higher highs, higher lows, and, you know, basically, this is what we're freaking out about. This is what we're freaking out about right now. So, you know, until we have some drastic, insane breaks of these major levels, which that would be absolutely crazy if Bitcoin did that, then genuinely, I'm not worried. We do have the halving coming up in about 6 days, roughly. And realistically, the halving tends to be a big non-event, right? So, you know, is it priced in? Personally, I don't think it is. Some people say it is. I don't think it is, only because we still have that supply shock happening. We still have the Bitcoin coming off of exchanges. And not just that, but there's something even bigger happening right now. And you may have forgot about it. You may have heard about this and kind of forgot about it. Now, I'm just going to start with this little coin called ORDI, right? Now, this was the first Bitcoin ordinal. And as you can see, this thing was down here at around 2 cents, got up to like, what was it, $90, and it's chilling at around $60. Not to mention, it's already at number 82 on CoinGecko, just 82 in the markets in general. So that's pretty incredible for something on Bitcoin. Now, this has been a bit of a controversial topic, right? About putting these NFTs or inscriptions or runes, ordinals, whatever you want to call them, on the Bitcoin blockchain. The Maxis are telling you that it's useless. You're slowing down the network and this and that. But there's so much to this picture that everyone is missing because actually this incentivizes miners. But I digress from all of that. What I really want to focus on is the fact that you do not want to sleep on this sector. There is going to be a massive narrative, okay, and you are still early if you're wondering, for these Bitcoin ordinals. I do want to play a quick clip from Clem Chambers. He was over on Kitco News discussing why Bitcoin ordinals are going to be massive, and then I have a very special treat with you guys. You're going to want to stick around definitely for all of this to the end, but I just want to play this clip super quick, and then we're going to get to the fun part.
Well, the big thing, I believe, going forward, it's always the new invention that sets off the really big money-making opportunities. And that is ordinals. And that was something I spotted about a year ago. And, you know, I what they call inscribed, I created a whole load of ordinals. And I woke up the day before yesterday and someone had given me an ordinal, because I'd done that a year ago, that's worth $5,000. Just out of the blue. I don't know them from Adam. They just dropped a a crypto on me worth $5,000. And that's kind of the scene. And it's like, whoa, when was the last time someone gave you $5 for nothing?
Just a nice place to be. Okay, let's talk
Yeah.
about ordinals. I mean, they've sparked a new wave of interest, obviously, in Bitcoin's capability beyond just a currency. But explain them to our audience. Explain in layman terms what this is.
Crash course, Bitcoin is the original, and it's very simple, very straightforward, obeys all the rules of what crypto is meant to be about. And then along came Ethereum, which is different, more complicated, does a lot more things. And one of the things that it does is that you can mint infinite kinds of cryptos. You can mint your own coin. You can make a Fred coin or a Bilbo coin, whatever you like, and you can do things like NFTs. But good old Bitcoin was basically a bit of a dinosaur. Now, what the guys that invented ordinals did was they went, well, we can retrofit NFTs. They're going to be a bit different. They're going to be a bit strange. No one's ever done it before. It's going to be totally new. And here they are. And everyone went, oh, holy cow, we hate that. We love that. We hate that. We love that. But it's the emergence of something that Ethereum does that Bitcoin couldn't do, but now it can. So basically, it's strapping on something new onto the 800-pound gorilla, the Tyrannosaurus Rex of crypto. So obviously, you know, it's a rooster booster. And people are going, holy cow, this could be amazing. I need to jump in on this. And of course, that's how you get a boom, bubble, bust cycle. And it's in the early stages of the boom cycle, and it will go bubble and it will go bust. They always do. And then things are coming out of it, like rune stones, which is just another kind of crypto, and runes, which is another kind of ordinal. And that's the thing that's it's not even out yet. Right. And it's like an ordinal. It's an obscure Bitcoin event idea, a bit of software, kind of cool, groovy thing. And in the land of crypto, that's all it takes for something to suddenly be worth 2 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion. You know, a dog with a hat, 6 billion.
So is this just the beginning here? I mean, how do you see ordinals influence in the future of NFTs, especially on a blockchain known for its financial stability rather than smart contract versatility?
Well, I don't think Bitcoin is known for its stability, maybe technical stability, but certainly not price stability. Right. As we saw today, it's all over the blooming place financially, which is why people love it, because people don't generally buy assets because they're going to go up slowly over the next 10 years. They buy them to get rich quick. And crypto is the ultimate environment for that, and has been. And that's why everybody loves it. So again, this asset is incredibly volatile. So some random bloke or the runestone people give me a runestone. I thought, that's nice of them. It's worth $500. And then I look closer and it's worth $5,000. I mean, that is a different financial, economic environment, different from the one there where we come from. It's where money flows downhill, trouble flows uphill, as opposed to the world where we live in, where trouble flows down to us and our money flows uphill to them. So it's that reversal that makes this so exciting, so amazing, so different. So it doesn't have to be Claire rabbiting on. It could be a picture of a monkey. It could be a joke that everybody gets. It could be a book. It could be a key to a club. Here's my ordinal. Let me into the club. Oh, your ordinal, sir, come in. You don't have the ordinal. Go away, etc. So all these digital objects plug into the real world and therefore have value. And when you look at the value, you might go, holy cow, how did that? It can't be worth that much. But it's all an outcome of the digital world that we all live in, where most people are actually living more in the digital world than they are the real world.
So getting back to ORDI, right? This was actually created by this anonymous person, Domo, right? He was the one that essentially was able to figure out how to do this with the Bitcoin blockchain. And it's pretty cool. Satoshi was, you know, anonymous. Domo is anonymous. Makes sense, right? So what's crazy is that if you go over to, for example, Ordinals Bot, right? This is the beta. So these guys actually worked with Domo essentially to, get some of these things launched over here. And just recently, I don't know if you've seen this, if you come down here, and I don't know if I'm going to get a copyright on this or not. So you can obviously put all these inscriptions. This is pretty, a little boring looking. You can do a lot more on Bitcoin. But I wanted to come down here where we actually had Ghost-Faced Killa pretty much putting a song on the Bitcoin blockchain. It'll be there forever. I'll play like 5 seconds of it.
I want them little gold trophies like Monique.
Okay, I don't want to play anymore only because I don't know if there's a copyright associated with that. But the fact that that will live forever on the Bitcoin blockchain is incredible. And if you guys think that the meme seasons that you saw on Solana or Base, or even potentially what I think some of them you may see on the BNB chain, whatever, I think that the mania that you are going to see this year in the Bitcoin ordinal space is going to be absolutely massively insane. So today I'm actually sitting down with two OGs. They are actually the founders of this Ordinal bot. Now keep in mind, this is the only product that's doing this right now in the market. They have been in the space longer than I have, and I wanted to bring them on the show to sort of talk about why this is going to end up being a massive trend. And if you think that the mania that you've seen with NFTs or, you know, these meme coins, if you think that was crazy, just wait until you see what is potentially about to happen with all of these Bitcoin type NFT products. And some people thought that it was over. They thought it was a flash in the pan, we had fun, and that's it. But it's actually just getting started. So without further ado, we do have Toby and Brian, and I think you guys are gonna get a lot of value out of this video, and by the time you're done watching it, you may just understand why this is bigger than most people are anticipating, and it's probably going to be one of the hottest topics in this bull run. All right, so we got Toby and we got Brian with us today. They are two OGs in the space. They've been in the Bitcoin space for longer than even I have. And what we wanted to go over was essentially this sort of big narrative, this craze about Bitcoin, ordinals, runes. Why are we building on Bitcoin? There's all these other, you know, projects we could be using. And why is this actually gaining so much traction? So first of all, if you guys want, I just wanted to, maybe you can introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no, amazing. So we're Ordinals Bot. We were the first inscription service. So been going for a bit over a year. And we're basically the first group to enable people to put inscriptions onto the Bitcoin blockchain. I've been in the crypto space 8 years, full on, been an analyst, done track data trading trends. And with Brian, basically, we've been obsessed by like Bitcoin, DeFi, ordinals, all these things for the last few years. So like we've been building in this space for many years, and then we're like literally the first group. So we're a real like ordinals OG group, and think it's driving forward the space massively. And Brian?
Yeah, thanks, Toby. Yeah, my name is Brian. I'm co-founder of Ordinals Bot. So yeah, I've been in the space also since around 2016, you know, dabbled in DeFi, rode that DeFi wave all the way up, and, you know, had my fair share of rug pulls on the way back down again. And I really kind of left the space and then come back in 2021 during the DeFi summer. Launched a project called Satoshiables, which Toby's actually wearing a t-shirt from, which is funny. So yeah, I launched a project on Ethereum called Satoshiables, which is based on obviously Satoshi Nakamoto and the lore around nobody knows who that person is. So really loved that concept, but obviously, you know, launching a Bitcoin themed NFT on Ethereum is quite funny, right? And so I've always been plugged into the Bitcoin space and always interested in what's happening there. And yeah, and at the end of 2022, essentially learned about ordinals. And then 2023, in February 2023, we launched Ordinals Bot, just out of necessity, basically, because, you know, I'm a front-end developer myself, and I was wondering, how do you do this? And actually, it's quite a technical hurdle. You have to run your own Bitcoin node. You have to run the ordinals index. So it's very quite dev heavy. And, you know, we essentially built a website where you could just drag and drop a file, and then we handle the back end essentially. And it's been really great product market fit since day one. And we've grown along with the space. And yeah, it's been 1 year on now. And now we're just starting to see a lot of the retail market really starting to turn their heads a little bit and saying, what's happening on Bitcoin? Is this NFT bull run 2.0, you know?
Right. Well, that's what I was thinking, because you guys are saying you've been looking into this for a while, and I am probably one of the most, I say like I'm as close to being a Bitcoin maxi without being a Bitcoin maxi, you know what I mean? Like Bitcoin is ultimately for me the only thing I want to hold long term. But it's interesting because you have all these other options, right? Like people would, I remember what, they had the Omni network originally, there were all these other things. And then you kind of saw it die down. And there was this idea that building on Bitcoin, using Bitcoin for these types of things, it's dead, right? And a lot of the maxis, some of them will come out and actually say, why are you doing this? Like, just keep Bitcoin for what it is. It's just a payment system. Why are we clogging up the network with gas? So, I wanted to ask a few questions. Why are you guys choosing to build on Bitcoin? I mean, is it because it's obviously gained traction? I mean, I've noticed it and I've become interested in it. But why do you guys choose Bitcoin over some faster, network potentially? Or, why are we going back to the OG chain for this?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely opened a lot of great questions about about Bitcoin, and I think just to roll it back, Bitcoin was obviously the first ever chain, right? It launched as the first chain, back in 2009, and it still remains the largest, most secure chain because of its decentralized nature, the tokenomics, everything is just it's the most decentralized chain. But for a while at the beginning, it was it slowed down in terms of development and what was possible to do there because it's quite hard to change Bitcoin and do things on top of it. And there was a real hunger, for developers to build stuff. And actually, Vitalik himself, he's a hardcore Bitcoiner, and he essentially, I said, enough's enough, right? I'm going to go build my own thing, and went and created Ethereum with smart contracts because he had this idea of the world's largest computer. So, and then obviously that, sparked the whole, building ecosystem on Web3, and people built a lot of cool decentralized applications and platforms. And then from there, you've seen L2s spin off from Ethereum to be faster, etc., and different things. However, now we're seeing, I think Ordinals really reignited that passion for building on Bitcoin and actually highlighted what is possible on L1, even without smart contracts. So it was a real showcase for that. And I think that developers have got excited again and said, well, actually, you know what? Let's really push the boundaries and see what's possible on Bitcoin as an L1. But at the same time, there's now L2s being built in a big way because of this kind of excitement that's coming back. We're getting a lot of developers coming to us saying, I went to Ethereum, I'm really happy that I can now come back to Bitcoin and build. And that's what's super exciting about us. And yeah, the stuff that we've been able to build on L1 over the last year without smart contracts has been fascinating. So we've got marketplaces, wallets, DeFi lending, NFT, a whole NFT ecosystem, you name it, it's there, and it's happening at a much more rapid pace than we've seen on Ethereum.
So you guys are seeing like a increased demand back for it right now. It's not, because I also heard a lot of people saying that with all the interest right now with the ETFs and people getting into Bitcoin, they're not going to be dabbling in these crazy other projects and coins right away, right? They're kind of getting their toes wet. But if they have an opportunity to maybe, oh, these guys have NFTs on Ethereum, but I'm in Bitcoin right now, but Bitcoin has its own inscriptions. It has its ordinals. So you're seeing that maybe you can kind of have that be the next wave into the Bitcoin ecosystem. It's kind of like, whereas it's like a resurgence is what it is, really. It's people realizing, absolutely.
Yeah, no. That's a really, really good point. And I think the quite a funny thing happened the other day. I don't know if you've seen these Bitcoin puppets, but they've been quite a popular NFT.
Oh yeah.
On Ordinals, right? Like, and one of them ended up in Cassie Wood's wallet. So she's one of the biggest ETFs. And just the way Ordinals works is basically they're fused to a Satoshi, which are the sats that are the kind of cents or pennies of Bitcoin, right? And so like one of these things worth like $40,000 ended up in the ETF wallet. I'm not even sure if like Ark who run that ETF would be aware of it, but like it was definitely a meme in the Ordinals community. It's like, hey, yeah, Kathy Woods just bought a Bitcoin NFT, right? But.
So for people though, I feel people are still a little bit confused. I know I was initially. What is like, for example, the kind of significant difference? For example, Bitcoin has script. Obviously, it's a little bit different. So what is the difference between like an NFT versus what you guys are doing? Inscriptions, ordinals, and runes, right? Those two. So what kind of is, I mean, they're similar, but they're not.
This is the biggest kind of differentiation point for Bitcoin NFTs, I'd say, is that most Ethereum NFTs are pointers, right? Like IPFS, Arweave, or even like Amazon Web Services, right? The some NFTs can be completely not blockchain at all, other than that there's a smart contract referring to them on Ethereum or Solana or whatever it is. One of the big breakthroughs of Bitcoin NFTs and ordinals is basically they're being stored in your Taproot address, and the information is there on chain, and it's kind of like the mother chain, so it's very solid as well, right? So like the fact that Bitcoin lends itself quite well to that, I think has really kind of converted people very quickly to ordinals. Like the moment they realize that, they go, hey, like no one, man on the street definitely doesn't know what Arweave is, and probably doesn't know what IPFS is. They might have bought some Filecoin, but like that's that's a level of crypto native that is far beyond like go, hey, do you want your NFTs stored on Bitcoin? And people go, yeah, buy an ordinal. And so I think that really resonates, because like for most people in the world, Bitcoin is crypto, right? Like it's only in like the crypto Degens circles where it's like, do you like Ethereum, Solana, Bitrum, whatever it is, right? Like it's kind of yeah.
And Bitcoin has that. It has that brand recognition. You know, it's like you said, within crypto, we fight over the maxis versus the whatever. But in the real world, Bitcoin is crypto, and it's the one that they trust if they were to get into it.
Yeah, definitely. And also the thing that really irked me about the NFTs on Ethereum and other chains, like Toby said, was the fact that it points to IPFS, and IPFS itself is not actually, like, it's decentralized in the sense that it's hashes, but like someone has to store those files somewhere. So like you can see it in 50 to 60 years, like when you look back, there's got to be a really high percentage of like missing broken links on the internet. Whereas with Bitcoin and ordinals, this stuff is on chain, and it'll be on chain for as long as Bitcoin's around. So that was really a big like turning point for me in last January. I actually seen it as like right away as like an IPFS competitor. I thought, this is really on-chain data. There's so many cool use cases for that, uncensorable, government-resistant data that can't be taken down, So that's been really, really kind of an eye-opener for me for this whole thing.
Okay, go ahead, Zombie.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I wanted to dive in as well, because like we spent a lot of time on the NFT side. I think what the big unlock that actually surprised me and Brian, right? Like we thought this was a cool tool and an IPFS competitor. And if you read like the first like our pre-seed deck, it pretty much was talking only about like use cases and real world assets on Bitcoin. But actually, what's been almost a bigger driver for ordinals than Bitcoin has been fungible tokens on Bitcoin, right? Like BRC-20, and now it looks like runes have caught like people's imagination in a big way. And I guess like one of our claims to fame is basically Ordinals Bot, we kicked off fungible tokens on Bitcoin without even realizing it. So like Domo, who's one of our advisors now, but he created his first ordinal on us and basically sketched out like, here's a nice idea for a protocol on Bitcoin, and if you do this and this, you can have a fungible token on Bitcoin. And so he just basically created the first BRC-20, which was ORDI, and that's now a multi-billion-dollar market cap fungible token on Bitcoin. So it was like literally the first one ever went to unicorn status, which is hilarious, right? And I think just shows the momentum, and it's part of the reason like why today, actually at the time of this interview, we launched our Trio token, because basically like we were like, there are all these meme coins popping up and everyone doing crazy stuff, and like there's this pups one at the moment, or rune pups or whatever it is, that's trading really heavily, but we've done a utility token on Bitcoin because we're a builder company. We're one of the biggest builder companies in the space, and our view is you'll have very valuable utility tokens on Bitcoin as well, but like we're one of the really early movers in that, so that's pretty exciting as well.
So let's talk about that. Let's discuss what you guys are building. I think people would be interested. Like you said, Domo, he's an anonymous guy. He's kind of got that Satoshi vibe going, which is, I think, really cool. You have Anonymous Satoshi, Anonymous Domo making the first ever, BRC-20. It's kind of like poetic in a weird way. And then you have you guys, and maybe you can just explain to everybody what you're building, what pain points you're trying to fix in the space. Ultimately, like, what is the vision for Ordinals Bot, and what are we eventually going to be able to do with this? Like, because we have all these other options. Obviously, Uniswap was kind of like the original sort of Ethereum decentralized. Then you saw all these other ones pop up. But the first mover advantages, for example, ORDI, tend to do quite well. And you guys are the first that I'm aware that are building anything like this in the space. So yeah, maybe you could just like take us through and run us through the game plan. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, like Toby mentioned earlier, we were the first ever inscription service, so we essentially like coined that term in a way, because before we launched, people were doing like OTC trades on Discord to say like, hey, yeah, give me $1,000 and I'll inscribe this for you. Like, trust me, bro. And we provided a service where it's like drag and drop and really like a really easy kind of interface. So that's been our mantra since day one, is like, can we build more tools like that to really take away that friction that's on Bitcoin more than other chains. Is really quite a friction, a lot of friction in terms of getting onboarded and stuff. So we want to really reduce that, and we're an API first company as well, which is cool. So we build new features on our API first, and then we can build it into our own tooling, but then we can offer that API to other people. So since the beginning, essentially, we've had a lot of people using our API to also build other cool products in the space as well. We had, two of the main wallets using our API. We've got the marketplaces using our API. And we've been like behind the scenes involved in quite a lot of the high profile drops that happened on Bitcoin. So we did the French Montana drop, we did Ghostface Killer drop, we did the Runestones airdrop, which was the largest airdrop on Bitcoin at the time. And yeah, we've had our hands in a lot of different pots and learned a whole lot as well. And through those learnings, we've been able to like automate a lot of things and build a lot of tooling around that. So yeah, we've been basically building for the last year to get creator tooling in a good place and allow projects and artists and stuff to come over and really easily launch their project on Ordinals. So that's in a really good position. And now going forward with the launch of our Trio token, we want to bake that token into all of our product suites that were built over the last year to offer like discounts and reward mechanisms. But we also want to build like a specialized marketplace ourselves as well. And it didn't really make sense to make the Ordinals Bot marketplace because that was very much a tooling company. So we're going to make another product under Ordinals Bot called, it's basically got to be kind of branded as Trio Marketplace. And that's got to be for runes and BRC-20 and inscriptions. And again, it's got to be like really baked in heavily with the token. So looking at a lot of other chains, looking at like what Blur did with their marketplace and their token and how that really amplified the whole kind of marketplace, functionality. So yeah, that's their two big plays this year, is continuing to build out our creative and developer tooling, and then also like dip our toes in the marketplace side with a kind of token powered marketplace.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that most people are looking for is more of just like a simplified user experience, because that was the biggest issue. I mean, you guys have been around longer than me, but when I first got into it, it was really complicated and it was very technical. And I just felt like I was missing out on all these opportunities because I had to read like a 10-page document on how to like, literally accomplish the simplest task. So I really believe that the thing that's going to make things like this really reach the masses, I think, and be successful is ease of use for users. You don't want to have a technical know-how if you just want to buy an ordinal, or you want to, be part of a community or something like that, And I think that was what I was most attracted to with what you guys were doing when I first saw the project, is because I don't really see any other place where you can safely do this right now. Like you said, at this point, it's like a guy, trust me, bro, like, and it's like, okay. Yeah, famous last words with crypto, right? So yeah, I think that's amazing. As far as what you guys are looking to continue to build out, what do you guys have in the pipeline for the roadmap? What can we do? Like if somebody went right now, what can we do right now versus what are we going to be able to do down the road?
Yeah, like I mentioned, so right now it's all about like launching and creator tooling that you can do. So if you go to Ordinals Bot, you can inscribe really easily by dragging and dropping, and you can launch a collection really easily by using our launchpad. So we've spent a long time kind of making that really robust and really strong. So that's in a really good position. And then, yeah, very much in the pipeline is the marketplace side where you can actually then not only launch a project with us, but then obviously get access to that secondary market. And we've got some really cool outfield kind of ideas of how to capture, a cool kind of portion of that market as well. So yeah, we're going to offer some really nice secondary marketplace kind of experiences. And like you said, we want to take away all that friction of like 10-step tutorials, right? And yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of that happening on Bitcoin at a much more rapid pace. Look, when I look back at like MetaMask, for example, it took like 3 years for that to even support NFTs. And now, since basically the first month on the Ordinal space, we had wallets that supported, NFTs and fungible tokens. So it's happening at a lot faster pace on Bitcoin, which is great. Previously to Ordinals, Bitcoin was a nightmare. Like it was a developer, you had to be like a PhD to understand how to install a wallet.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Bitcoin.
yeah.
It was really not easy, right? And now
Exactly. I
you've
mean,
got like a one-click install.
So I was wondering, I mean, this is just an honest question. Are there limitations though? I know we don't have smart contracts on Bitcoin to my knowledge, unless there is in some form. I don't.
Yeah, so all the smart contracts are having to take place on layer 2, right? So
Okay.
it's kind of like the best thing about Bitcoin is no smart contracts, and the worst thing about Bitcoin is no smart contracts. Kind of, it's one of those weird things where I almost think from like a retail user standpoint, it's actually nice to have like ordinals at least grow up initially without anyone doing stuff interacting with ordinals and BRC-20 having to deal with smart contracts, because most of the money I think probably even the three of us on this call have lost have been like interacting with a smart contract where you get hacked, or like you just a bunch of gas fees disappear because you're it's easy to lose $200 on chain and not really know how you've done it, right? Like that's impossible on Bitcoin. Like there's a partially signed Bitcoin transaction where effectively in trading terms, if you get your fill, you basically get the NFT or you get the token that you wanted at the end of it. So I think like from a user experience standpoint, that's actually quite a big advantage, is not like doing random stuff and losing a bunch of money, right? Like, and I reckon like probably 80 to 90% of the users on Ethereum lose money, right? Like, but the sophisticated ones do very, very well, right? Like it's kind of like one of those markets. And I think like maybe ordinals and Bitcoin ends up being a bit fairer just because of actually like there's the safer environment, which is mainnet Bitcoin ordinals, and then if you're deciding to do like more degen-y stuff, you're kind of opting into that, right? Like so that's interesting as well.
Yeah, I mean, you have a mix of it on chain and a mix of it sort of on a second layer, you said. But I wonder, and just you can correct me because I don't know the technicals of this. I'm not a Bitcoin miner. So is this actually increasing incentive for the Bitcoin miners? Because you might, in one hand, you would hear the maxis or whatever saying, "Oh, you're clogging up the network," whatever. But do you agree or disagree with that? I mean, I would think that this is going to be beneficial for the ecosystem, right? And for the miners as well.
Probably our most important alliance that we have, we've got a collaboration with Marathon, basically. So Marathon do 2 to 4 blocks a day, and we've done 7 of the 10 largest files on Bitcoin. Like we've done one of them with French Montana, so like that's pretty cool. Yeah, working with like a big rap star, putting the largest audio on chain. We did the Runestone airdrop, so that had 2 of the largest files put onto Bitcoin. We did those for Leonidas and his Runestone project. That's now overtaken Yuga. So the miners actually absolutely love it because they get they get significantly higher fees from the custom blocks we do with Mara than they do just by like passively doing the stuff on chain. So like almost like it's an initiative within Mara called Slipstream where like they think that will help them re-rate their stock price because they go, look, we're doing all this innovative, cool, like we're not just a miner, we're a software company. That's their pitch. And it's interesting. I I think and you can chat with the Luxor miners, there's other major mining pools that might not have actually done anything in ordinals, but they're all talking about it, and they're all noticing they're making more fees. I mean, you get the odd maxi mining group like Ocean, and they're very vocal, but they really are a tiny minority in this space.
So I mean, the truth is,
oh, sorry, I was going to say you don't have to mention any names, but have you secretly had some of the maxis kind of reach out to you like, hey, maybe I could get into this stuff on Bitcoin? Like, have you seen where everything on Ethereum is a shitcoin, but it's like, oh, it's on Bitcoin, like maybe I'll make an exception for it.
Not directly, but I think that indirectly there's been a lot of people, interested people that change their mind without telling anybody. We essentially threw ourselves into the Dragon's Den last year because we are one of our investors is actually Bitcoin Magazine, right? And we had a booth at Bitcoin Miami in May last year, so that's quite early in the Ordinals ecosystem. So we thought, why not? Let's just throw ourselves in the deep end here, and we had a booth with Ordinals on it and everything, and literally in the core of Bitcoin, ecosystem. So people were walking past us and they'll see Ordinals, and honestly, almost all of them were just really interested to understand more about it. And just going back to the last question about is it a good thing for miners? Bitcoin needs a fee market. It's a finite number of Bitcoin. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin mined. It's a long way away, but it's a true fact. And relying on payments alone is just not sustainable, in my opinion. I think that there has to be a very vibrant and fruitful ecosystem of fees on Bitcoin from all different aspects. And whether it's payments or things happening directly on layer 1, like the Ordinals protocol, or layer 2s, which are fundamentally also using Bitcoin as a base layer, so it's still interacting with fees there. All of these things combined has got to create a really healthy fee market on Bitcoin. So, that's really been highlighted by Ordinals, and the miners really love them. And it's got to continue as you see more L2s and other protocols essentially crop up on Bitcoin. And yeah, anything's possible. The things that we've been doing on layer 1 directly it's all Bitcoin native. Bitcoin hasn't changed one bit to allow the Ordinals protocol to exist. This is all Bitcoin tech that's been there for years, essentially. Taproot, for example, is the component that we use to put the data in the transaction. PSBTs, which is a very old technology on Bitcoin, is what we use to prop up the whole marketplace economy on Bitcoin, where you put your ordinal on one side of the transaction, you sign it on your side, you put it out into the internet. Anybody can then pick that up trustlessly. As long as they fulfill the amount of Bitcoin you're requesting, they can close that transaction. So in a weird way, actually, PSBTs are kind of mini little smart contracts on Bitcoin in a weird way, right? Because it's fulfilling a need, and then it trustlessly fulfills the transaction. So yeah, I'm just really excited to see what we've built on layer 1, and push the boundaries of Bitcoin and show them what's possible. And there's great conversations happening about fees, and does that lead to an L2s and etc. So yeah.
And I think the thing is there's probably more vocal Bitcoiners that are non-maxi now. The pendulum has completely shifted, right? It's kind of there is a we're actually sponsoring the Bitcoin Asia conference, right? Which is going to be a massive fungible tokens on Bitcoin conference. Basically, it's going to be all about BRC-20 and runes. So you're basically going to have a Bitcoin conference by Bitcoin Magazine, with all the people wanting to talk about trading tokens and token utility, right? That would have been unthinkable 2 years ago, and it's kind of crazy. And I think and one of the funniest things about the whole thing as well was actually you hear Casey, who's the founder of Ordinals or creator of Ordinals, talk about the thing. Apparently, one of the biggest referrers for getting people interested in Ordinals was Adam Back turning up on the spaces and going, "You must not create an Ordinal to 100,000 people." And then people would just Degens just go out and go, "Well, I'm going to try it anyway and see what happens." I think that's the nature of crypto.
I mean, sometimes on my channel, because we're very Bitcoin focused, especially during the bear market. So, now we're talking a little bit more about other projects. And then, of course, you get the angry people in the comments like, oh, here it's this season. You know what I mean? But, the reality is, you get to a point in the market where these opportunities arise. And I believe in a free market. Am I going out there and buying every single meme coin? No, because that makes, but at the same time, it's almost like the meme coin space is like a way for them to push back. It's like, oh, you want to print all the money? You want to print money out of thin air? Like, we'll make our own little communities. And, I mean, granted, yeah, it's very degen and you're probably going to lose all your money, but you should be allowed to do it, I think, and I think people want to do that. They want to feel like they're part of something bigger. So for you guys, maybe in your minds, it doesn't feel early, but would you say for everybody else, this is still very early? Like people interested in this, like ordinal space, like you're at like the beginning of the race now, or
100%.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I think it's the perfect time. Like we were early in the sense that, like, I think we spent a good year, not only Ordinals, but all the builders in the space, really hardcore building. Like, we've met a lot of the teams. We became really good friends with a lot of the other teams and met them at conferences. And it's like, when was the last time you slept? And like that's the like we've really, really went hard this year building this ecosystem. And now the fruit of that is coming, right? When all these tools are now available, marketplaces, inscription services like ours, it's ready. I mean, it's ready for the retail market, and you have the halvening now as well, which is a really cool time for Bitcoin. It gets a lot of people excited. Usually, the price goes up. The fee market goes crazy, regardless of ordinals. The fee market's got to go crazy anyway. It already is today. But it's just like all kind of coalescing at a really great time, and I think that after the halvening, there's also got to be runes on Bitcoin, which is essentially created by Casey, the creator of Ordinals. He's now come out with an alternative to BRC-20 protocol, which is runes, and it's his fungible standard, the token standard. So that's got to be another like kind of huge thing that's got to happen this year, and even just getting in now early to that, it's got to be massive, right? It's like so it's really, really early to say the least, and this year has got to be really exciting. I really firmly believe that the next bull run has got to be kind of driven by ordinals and fungible tokens on Bitcoin.
I actually believe that too. I do, and people, it's funny because when I had said that, even a few months ago, people were like, "No, it's going to be Solana and all this other stuff," and I'm like, "Okay, all right, I guess we'll just have to see how this one plays out. Time will tell."
Yeah.
Yeah, and like even for us, right? Like we launched today, our tokens trading and like around 65 million FTV and tiny market cap, and like it's funny because the like if you think about a utility, like we're one of the bigger builder groups in Bitcoin ordinals, right? Like there isn't a utility token for a major Ethereum builder group that isn't like below $1 billion, right? So I think that that probably just tells you how early the thing is, because plus once it's
most people who've interacted with these don't even know that you guys were most likely involved in some way at some point. Like even with ORDI, it's like I'm probably bringing you guys on for the first time, and people are like, "Who are these people on my channel?" It's like, if you've been interacting with the space, they probably passed through their hands at some point. So
yeah, I joke with the team. I joke with the team all the time. Like I have this massive ego that's unquenchable. Like I have an ego that cannot be filled. My ego is like a bottomless pit, and the fact that we are behind the scenes doing this stuff, it does no good for my ego. I want the praise, I want all the other things, but I think in the end, that's the kind of the result of being an infrastructure company, right? You're the rails that people are building on top of. You are inherently behind the scenes, and honestly, like it's been really fun just like being in that position. Like we launched Pizza Ninjas, which is a really great project. I was working really a lot on that side and building, really showcasing what's possible with inscriptions. It's all basically JavaScript and HTML. So whatever you can do with JavaScript, you can put into an inscription, and that's just super powerful. Like you've got games. Someone inscribed Doom. Like it's insane what you can do on Bitcoin. We just did a music player for Ghostface Killer, like an actual, you can play the song, and the song's on chain forever as well, not hosted somewhere else. So yeah, I've just been really excited in dabbling, and yeah, you're right. Like we are behind the scenes, but
well, for someone who claims they have a huge ego, you're pretty humble, both of you guys. In fact, I remember when we first spoke, we were introduced by a mutual friend of ours who said, "Hey, you got to talk to these guys. I know you're this big Bitcoin guy." And one of the things that I loved about you guys is you're building this project, you've been building this project, and yet there was at no point any topic of conversation really of price or what the token was going to do, even though we have high hopes for it. It was purely from just like a technical community product perspective. And I think that's what drew me to you guys, is I realized that your passion doesn't stem from, all these different projects that are just launching and they're just trying to take advantage of the bull market, whereas you guys were building through the bear market. You have a solid project for something that you believe is going to be a huge part of the Bitcoin ecosystem. And yeah, I just think that's really cool. And I want to say thank you. I appreciate the work you guys have done because, as you guys know, I wear the Bitcoin hat every day. That's my thing. I started wearing this like a year ago. I was like, I'm wearing this the whole bull run now. So anyway, guys, this has been a really, really great conversation. I don't want to take up, I know you guys have time, the viewers, I understand. Is there anything that you want to just kind of like leave my viewers with, or anything you guys want to say before we go?
Yeah, I can take it. I mean, if you lived through the Ethereum bull run and you had the NFT, you had DeFi summer and you had NFT summer, essentially that's happening again on Bitcoin. And you can learn from your mistakes that you might have made. I certainly am. We are as builders as well. We're trying to avoid building things that make those mistakes. And it's basically happening again. We've got like a redo and it's happening on Bitcoin. The difference is, in my opinion, is that Bitcoin was a sleeping giant in the last bull run, right? There was potentially like 10x the liquidity just sitting there doing nothing in Bitcoins, in people's Bitcoin wallets. Now this Bitcoin is awakening basically. And people can, instead of sending it to a bridge on a wrapped Bitcoin thing, they can just use that asset on its actual chain on L1. And I think that people are not ready for that yet. I think it's got to be DeFi summer on Bitcoin. It's got to be like nothing anybody's ever seen, basically. And I'm super excited for it.
Thank you so much again. And I really, really appreciate you guys. Great conversation. Definitely something I'm interested in. I'm ready for it. I'm hyped about it. It's probably my most exciting narrative outside of, some of the niches. You have the AIs and, the real world assets. But I really think that a sleeping giant, I believe this will explode, and I'm super, super excited for it. And definitely, guys, for everybody's watching, obviously, no shills on the channel, but check out Ordinals Bot. It's a really awesome product. You can go use it right now. Obviously the token is trading, whatever, but I think we all agree that this is going to be something that is going to be here to stay, and it's really going to be a big part of probably the Bitcoin ecosystem indefinitely. So thanks again, guys, and talk to you soon.
So that's it for me, guys. Again, of course, looking at the Bitcoin chart, this is what everyone's freaking out about. We have very constructive price structure. This is where, we're consolidating again under the previous all-time high, and we're still just bouncing between these Fibonacci, areas. So, could we go back down to the $62,000 area? Potentially. It's possible. But ultimately, I believe that Bitcoin is moving into a very constructive part of the cycle where it's going to get very crazy very fast. And yeah, I think that we are still early to these types of things on Bitcoin, but eventually it's going to get pretty crazy. So yeah, guys, that's it for me today. Hope you guys found some value out of this. Do check out Ordinals Bot if you want. You can go over there. You can create your own inscriptions. I do think you're going to see a lot more of these come out in the future. But ultimately, guys, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Let me know, are you bullish on BRC-20s? Are you bullish on the Bitcoin ecosystem? Or are we still just going to use Solana, which constantly is shutting down every other day? I don't know. I mean, hey, it's up to you guys. But at the end of the day, I'm very bullish on the sector as a whole. So check it out. Do some research if you're interested. But I do think that this is going to be also one of the largest narratives for this cycle, which I don't think is even close to being over. So that being said, guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. If you guys do want to learn how to trade, you can check out the tutorials popping up right here. LevX will match your bonus up to 5,000. And we also still have the NFT sales for MetaSignals if you want lifetime access. Again, version 2, really crazy. Join the free Discord. You'll check it out. Until next time, guys, I love you. You're awesome. Stay crypto and peace out.